All right, what's up, everybody? Welcome into Sportstopia, Fantasy Fire and Ice. Corey Parson, the fantasy executive, and Cody Carpentier coming at you, getting you ready for DFS this weekend, week 5 of the NFL. I tell you what, Cody, that Sportstopia music, I'm going to be dreaming about that music tonight.
It's a good little vibe right there.
Yeah, I've heard it 4 times today. But we got plenty of stuff coming up. Hey, yo, before we get into it, though, I just did one of my YouTube shows with a partner of mine who happens to be a Washington Commander fan. You know what I'm saying? Left hand up for the Commanders. You know what I mean? A little Emmanuel Forbes prism right here, Mississippi State uniform, clean. You know what I'm saying? But they were chanting "Let's go Bears" in FedEx Field last night, Cody. You know what I'm saying? That was a disgusting performance from the Washington Commanders. Left hand up.
I'm just going to say this. I didn't watch a down of the game during the game because I went to a concert in Charlottesville with Chris Stapleton, but I watched some of it back on my drive home this morning, and I don't – Justin Fields has me in a tizzy, first off, based on what we've seen for the last 6 weeks and then the last 2 weeks. But, yeah, this Washington team, not what I expected. Sam Howell does put up the numbers in garbage time completely, 388 yards and 2 touchdowns, but I don't know what to do with Chicago. I don't know what to do with Washington either. I thought this was going to be not really a layup for Washington, but I thought this front would come alive on a primetime game and be able to get after the quarterback. And I thought that this was going to be completely controlled by Washington going in. And boy, was I wrong.
I just went over to Twitter right quick because I wanted to check something out, right? And the first thing I see is Fire Ron. I don't think they're talking about Ron O'Neal. You know what I'm saying? I think they're talking about Ron Rivera, Riverboat Ron. I don't understand why they call him Riverboat Ron. You should already know this, but 13 seasons as NFL head coach, Ron Rivera has 3 winning seasons, all with Cam Newton at quarterback.
Yeah. I mean, you're welcome. Like, that's exactly what that is. You get gifted a prolific, a once in a decade type of a guy, right? In Cam Newton. And then that's what's going to happen is he's going to bring the franchise in that direction. And Ron Rivera just kind of got the ride along with it. It's kind of like, there's multiple coaches that go through this exact thing and throughout their careers and stuff. And I like Chuck Pagano. I'm not going to throw him under the bus, but he kind of got put in there right when Andrew Luck was there. And then the reason he didn't really get elevated was because Andrew Luck ended up departing Indianapolis. So it's like those things happen all the time. So yeah, 3 winning seasons. That is that number's a little lower than I expected it to be.
Yeah, 3 winning seasons out of 13. So this idea.
Is he the new Jeff Fisher? Is he the new Jeff Fisher now?
Well, no, he's worse. Jeff Fisher would at least get you to 7-9. Ron Rivera is like a 6-10 guy. If somebody was to hire Jeff Fisher this offseason, I think the NFL would collapse and crumble down. But man, I tell you what. Hey, who was Chris Stapleton? That's one of your homies. The name sound familiar.
Chris Stapleton's a country guy. Chris Stapleton's a country, big beard. He did the national anthem.
You went to go see Chris Stapleton? You went to go see him perform in Charlottesville?
Yeah, he was up in Charlottesville at the Virginia. Was it John Paul Jones Arena? The Virginia Cavaliers basketball arena. He did the national anthem last year at the Super Bowl. Big beard guy. Okay. All
right, cool. So shout out to Chris Stapleton. I hope everybody had a good time out there last night. And talk about the accident. I was watching that. Well, I came in the house. I turned the TV on. I saw it was 17-0, and I was like, "Oh, this is the bad look right here." And then when they got to halftime, they started booing. Then at the end of the game, loud, "Let's go Bears! Let's go Bears!" Loud in the camera. I was like, "Jesus Christ!"
But this is it felt like it was getting to that point with the Bears. The streak, coupled with how Fields looked, it was like something's got to give, right? It's either Fields is going to start clicking. It looked like it was going to happen last week, and then they collapse against Denver, and you're like, well, I guess the rug just got pulled from underneath us. But then they come out hot like this and finally utilize DJ Moore. I mean, that one play that he stepped out of bounds, in quotations, right? He finishes 8 for 10 with 230 and 3. Like, this is alpha dog status. And it's like if they can start to utilize DJ Moore how they should, and Cole Kmet how they should, and if they can get these running backs healthy, they got Tevin Jenkins back. Like, I don't know what to do with the Bears, dude. I don't trust them, but like, I don't hate them. You know what I'm saying? Like, I like if this connection can be there. I don't know.
Don't worry about it. We worry about it next week. They're already in the can for this week. You know what I'm saying? Dylan says start one in a full PPR. Hollywood, D Hop, Tank Dell, Michael Thomas.
I have Tank Dell wide receiver 13 this week and Marquise Brown wide receiver 14.
So there you go. I think it's between those two.
Yeah, I would lean Dell, but I think there's more volatility in playing Dell, so I wouldn't be against playing Marquise Brown again. I have him literally back to back, so it's kind of a toss up for me.
Yeah, I would go with Hollywood in that spot right there, because like you said, the volatility in Dell's game. But you know what? Let's go ahead and start right there with that game in Atlanta. Let's go ahead and start with that game in Atlanta. I think it's going to be one of the more interesting games of the week. The total is low. It's only 41.5. But listen, this could be a low-scoring game too. But I think we could see some explosive plays in this game. Atlanta is a 1.5 favorite. Everybody is on the Houston Texans in this game. I like Atlanta. I did some underdog drafts last night, really just trying to get to a spot where I can draft Bijan. And, of course, I kept getting the first pick, so I just took Tyreek a couple times. I'll try again later on today. But I think this should be a big week for Bijan, and I think you can come back with some guys, too, like Nico and Stroud and players like that.
I love CJ Stroud. You can't be off of CJ Stroud. He's currently in that realm where it's just like he's cooking with peanut oil to the maximum, and it's kind of tough to really be off of him. And on that side of the ball, it's going to be Stroud, and it's either going to be probably one of Nico or Tank. This week I'm going Tank. Last week I actually was ahead on Nico over Tank Dell. This week I'm going back to Tank. That's really what I can trust. You can trust Stroud. You can trust at least one of these receivers, sometimes two. On the Atlanta side, like you said, you brought up Bijan Robinson. He's the dude. I did see some props drop with Jonnu and Kyle Pitts. I think they were like back-to-back, but I think Jonnu's prop for receiving yards, I want to say, was 1 yard higher than Kyle Pitts on the week. So I thought that was kind of interesting. Pitts is a guy in dynasty terms. I just did a show yesterday, and I came to the point where I was like, you're no longer paying a premium for Kyle Pitts, and the guy's 23 years old. Like there's gonna be avenues. He's not gonna have a worse quarterback in his next term. But as far as this week goes, I think it's Bijan. You play Stroud, you play one of Nico or Tank, whichever one you prefer. And I'm kind of staying away from Pitts. I'm staying away from London and all those guys.
Yeah, just when you look at that Atlanta Falcon passing game, it really does not leave a lot to be desired, and they really have no desire to play any other way underneath Arthur Smith. So what you see is what you get. And people always ask, you know what I'm saying, all the time about, well, what do I do with Kyle Pitts? Well, number one, you don't draft him. And number two, you put him on your bench. And number three, you just live with it. You know what I'm saying? And it's really it at that point right here just now. But I think that is going to be an interesting contest. Thanks for that question. Make sure you hit that subscribe button and make sure you download that Contrarian optimizer offered by Sportstopia. Site now live, sportstopia.io. Let's go to London, Jacksonville Jaguars, or wherever they playing at. I know it's an international series. Let's put it like that. Or it's that hot Spurs Tottenham Stadium.
Tottenham, there you go.
Yeah, there you go. I said the Spurs. You know what I mean, the soccer people. Real football or fake football, whatever. To me, it's real football. I don't live in Tottenham, wherever they live at.
Tottenham.
Anyway, Jacksonville Jaguars, Buffalo Bills. Buffalo a 5.5-point favorite in this one right here. Jacksonville, I've been out there 11 days now. They get to come home after this weekend. I think they would go because Usher is out there, and Usher was in Paris. I think the train ride from London to Paris is like 2 hours. So I think they went out there on their off day to check out Usher. You know what I'm saying? Hopefully nobody baby mama got taken. But that's neither here nor there. The football game is what's the most important thing. What do you say? What do we think about this one? This is Stephon Diggs' show?
Yeah, I think it's a Stephon Diggs show. I did realize after going through my rankings this week that my biggest differentiator at the quarterback position in rankings compared to the consensus was Trevor Lawrence. Double down, double up. The mediocre performance against Atlanta in week 4, consensus ranking has Lawrence at QB 10 this week. He's been 16, 18, and 32 the last 3 weeks. I don't think the Bills are an easy task. Jacksonville's been overseas. Buffalo's now coming overseas. I get that. But then you look at what the Bills had last week. They had Tua Tagovailoa, quarterback 18, when they beat the Miami Dolphins. They dusted Washington. Sam Howell was QB 32 the week before that. Garoppolo was QB 31. So I'm not very excited to play much in Jacksonville. I think Buffalo kind of is in that Stroud conversation, right? Buffalo's hot right now.
Yeah, they are.
Buffalo scored 38, 37, 48, like the last 3 weeks. Like they're hot. And you kind of just got to roll with that. I love playing Josh Allen. I'll pair him up with Diggs. If you want to roll some Gabe Davis in there, I'll do that too. James Cook's also a guy, if you want to play him as a one-off.
Get a little bit more consistent.
And you love to see that too, because he's gotten that conversation. Like they've been talking about him, in Buffalo as like he's a dog. He's a guy that can do it. He's a perfect number 2, but you just haven't seen it on a consistent basis. So if they can get him to do that on a consistent basis, again, they've brought in these other options, these Khalil Shakirs, they've brought in these Dalton Kincaids. They're like, oh, this guy's going to be the 2. Nope. Well, Gabe Davis looks like he's finally taking that step. So in this Buffalo Jaguars game, I like a little bit of ETN. I like the stacking of Allen with Diggs and Gabe Davis. Or I'd also like to play James Cook just as a one-off in my other lineups. But I think Buffalo's a head and shoulders a better football team than Jacksonville right now. I thought Jacksonville should have lost in week 1 to the Colts. So they got that win last week against Atlanta. They should be 1-3 in my book. But I think Buffalo's just a much better football team here.
Yeah, at this point, you got to look at it that way. Let me ask you this. You're talking about how hot Buffalo is. Could that plane ride and this travel overseas calm them down or cool them off? That's what I worry about.
It could. You're not right. Could it slow that defense down? Could it slow the offense down? The offense has been scoring like it's their job, and it is obviously, right? So 38, 37, and 48. It looks like Von Miller's making the trip to London. His first 2 practices back gave no issues. So like there's a possibility that they get that boost on the defense. That could be a thing that kind of helps them re-energizes them, whatever, once they get there, having that extra piece on the defensive line, like, oh, like, hey, we're all jet lagged, but hey, guess what? Von Miller's got fresh legs because he hasn't played, type of deal. But yeah, maybe if you're betting, I don't know what's the betting line. Is it at like
5.5? A 5.5 point underdog normally cashes, right? But they normally win the game 5.5 point underdogs. But that's in a typical
5.5
home away setting. Not really when you factor in a neutral environment. Really a road. You're supposed to blindly bet a road dog at 5.5. It's been last weekend was kind of the only weekend it didn't work with the Patriots, and somebody else got their teeth kicked in. But so far this season, week 1 Tampa, week 1 the Rams, and whatever it hits normally. But I would stay away from that. Giants and Dolphins. I told people to fade Saquon Barkley coming into the season. Hopefully you took that advice. He made all of that fuss, then took the same contract with incentives that he's never going to reach. You know what I'm saying? Interesting contract for Saquon Barkley, but caused all that confusion. The Giants stink. Miami, this number opened up 11, all the way up to 12.5 now. Like I told you in my couple underdog drafts last night, I got the first pick. I took Tyreek Hill. I think they make easy work of the Giants.
I think they make easy work of the Giants. Miami needs this. I don't think Miami is in the, and I got some kind of weird looks earlier this past week saying this, but like Miami's given up the 5th most points over the last 10 quarters of football. And I don't think that they're quite on that top tier, right? You have like San Fran for me, and then it's like Philly and KC and Detroit. I'm not sure if I want Miami in that sector right now, just because of how their defense is looking. So I'd love to see their defense pitch like a 10-point or less game against the Giants this week. My favorite play this week in this game is, of course, Devonte just based on pricing. He's a middling tier price guy. I can't remember what the number is exactly on DraftKings, but I like him on DraftKings and on FanDuel. That's the easiest one. You mentioned Tyreek Hill. That's an every week must play. You must have at least like 10-15% exposure on Tyreek Hill in any given week. On the Giants side, I mean, I talked about this one on Monday too. I think that Daniel Jones has, he's got an interception at least in the last 4 games. I think he deserves to be in the Zach Wilson conversation, and people don't want to accept it yet. So I'm kind of off of really anything in New York outside of Wan'Dale Robinson, just because Wan'Dale Robinson showed you the last 2 weeks even with a 22% snap share in week 3, he got his 5 targets. Last week it jumped up and he got 6 targets. Like, he's not going to be a slate breaker per se, but he's going to be a guy that, if you're starting 4 receivers or 3 flexes in your fantasy leagues, Wan'Dale Robinson is going to be a guy you're going to be able to plug in there and guarantee you're going to get 8 points out of if you have to, especially with buys coming up and stuff. But really the only thing I want in this game is Devonte Chain.
Yeah, no doubt. And I would agree with you on that Wan'Dale Robinson. Now, you were talking about the top teams. You said Philadelphia, you said San Francisco, then you said Kansas City, and then I think you said you meant to say Dallas, but said Detroit.
No, I said Detroit.
No, I know the D's can throw you off, right? Because like Detroit starts with a D, Dallas starts with a D. You meant to say Dallas, right?
No, but I said Detroit.
Wow.
I like Detroit's offensive line. I know Dallas is supposed to have their offensive line back this week, and we'll see what that looks like. But I want to see a consistent football team out of Dallas, right? We don't. You also don't have much depth. You have Pollard, and then it's Dowdle. You have at the wide receiver position, it's like, yeah, everybody knows CeeDee Lamb's that dude, but also
else.
Like they're like coming into the sequence with Brandon Cooks, and I had multiple conversations with my boy Alex Dunlap, and he's like, "You got to draft Brandon Cooks," and I'm like, "No, you don't. You don't have to draft Brandon Cooks."
I wish I would have heard that conversation.
I was like, "You don't got to do that." Like Jake Ferguson's nice, but that's not a George Kittle, linchpin piece that's going to change the offense. If the offensive line is 6 years past prime right now. The defense just lost Trevon Diggs, and the defensive line's nice, but the back end I don't think is as strong as they think they are. So Dallas, we're gonna really learn this Sunday night. Might be the best Sunday night football game we get all. Might be the best primetime game Thursday, Sunday, or Monday that we get all year.
One of the games of the year, yeah,
Dallas and Niners. So that'll be a good one. But yeah, I got Detroit ahead of Dallas. Yeah,
I wouldn't go that far.
Hey man, that's a road grader of an offensive line. You got 2 backs.
The defensive line playing good too.
Defensive line's dogs. Aleem McNeil is getting one of the most underrated. Last year, Dexter Lawrence was one of the most underrated defensive linemen in football. This year, it's Aleem McNeil playing right next to Aiden Hutchinson, who you ain't got really to say much about him. But yeah, Detroit's got a couple of pieces to stare at in the back end that you're kind of wondering about. And Brian Branch is that dude. Their rookies are all just bangers right now. So I just like what Detroit has as a whole more so than Dallas.
All right. Oh, I would love to take it to the field against the Detroit Lions because I think they are. I don't think they're a top 3 NFC team. I think they're in a tier below them, but they happen to be better than anybody else, particularly the Carolina Panthers, who come in as 10-point dogs going into Detroit. Now, Carolina did beat Detroit. Carolina might have been the last team to beat Detroit. Well, one of the last teams to beat. When Detroit went on that run to close the year last year, I think the only team to beat them was Carolina. But that was not this Carolina team. This Carolina team right here can't really get too much done offensively. You already know you can't run the ball against the Lions. You talk about the pass defense. What's up?
No, you brought that game up, and I went back and looked at the box score, and that was the game that Deonta Foreman and Chuba went for 290 combined.
Yeah. So that was I knew Carolina went. That game was in Carolina though, right?
Yeah, correct.
So, but like you said, different team. You know what I'm saying? I'm trying to figure out a way to take the points with Carolina. I can't think of what Carolina could possibly do to make this game close.
What's the number at again? You said like
10.
9, 10. So 10-point home dogs.
10. This game was in Detroit.
Oh shit, yeah, that's right. Last year was in Carolina. Sorry, 10-point home favorites. Okay, that's a big number anyway, though. Like
it is a big number, but how is Carolina going to score?
That correct. How is Carolina going to score? That's especially after what you saw last week against the Vikings, and the Vikings are not a gauntlet of a football team to play against. So how is Carolina going to score? That's the thing. Are they going to push the ball? You look at what they've done this year: 10, 17, 27 against Seattle, 13 against the Vikings. I think Detroit's just that much better of a football team. And I think that might be Vegas telling you that they think that Detroit's a better football team than Dallas. I think that might be what that is there, Corey. I think that might be what they're telling you. But I don't really see an avenue for it. I think you're going to see Detroit come in and kind of take the same tactic they did last week against Green Bay. I think they're going to try and run the ball down Carolina's throat, right down the center, right down the middle, right? Not at Brian Burns on the outside, but they're going to go right down the center of this defense and try to attack it with David Montgomery. And they get Jameson back. I haven't seen anything of saying he's like going to get an exceptional snap share? I doubt he does. He's never went over 25% in an NFL game. I know he came off an ACL last year, but he also only got 1 reception. So I have no hope for Jameson to really be of much value. So please do not play him in your DFS lineups this week.
What about your season-long leagues if you need a flex?
I just can't do it yet. I just can't do it yet. I haven't. Again, he's got 1 reception in his career and 1 carry. Never played over 25%. Dan Campbell came out last week and said he's not going to play 60 snaps. He also came out and said we got to focus on the little things. Like, for me, there's just too many red flags. For him in general, there's too many red flags to begin with. But then coming into this week, it's like, well, they're telling you basically we're not going to use him that much. Like, and the thing is, if you're going to get burnt, you're going to get burnt for probably like 1 catch for 60 yards and a touchdown. So that's like 13 points.
Yeah.
Like, I'm not worried about that. I'll go, try and get 9 out of Wan'Dale Robinson before I'm chasing a 13er out of Jameson WIlliams. I don't think you're going to get completely destroyed by Jameson WIlliams. But yeah, it's going to be tough for Carolina really in this game. You see what the defensive line brings to the table for Detroit, the linebackers, the safeties, all the way through. I think Detroit's going to run this game, control this game all the way through. Again, the 10-point line seems massive, but at home, like you mentioned, Detroit running the football. Yeah, man, 27-7.
Check this out. David Montgomery or a chain?
A chain.
David Montgomery or Bijan?
Bijan.
David Montgomery or Derrick Henry?
Montgomery.
Montgomery or DeAndre Swift?
Montgomery.
Montgomery or Joe Mixon?
That's a good matchup. I go Montgomery.
Montgomery or Isaiah Pacheco?
Montgomery.
All right, so Montgomery is like a top 4 back this week.
Yeah. Yeah, what do I got him at? I got him at 11, which seems kind of low.
It's not the final rankings yet, though.
Yeah, correct.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
So,
you got Christian McCaffrey. You got.
I think I'm gonna move him up. I think I'm gonna end up moving him up.
Yeah. So, all right, bet. Okay, so cool. That's kind of it there because listen, they're really not gonna have to do too much. What else? We talked about that. Baltimore, Pittsburgh. I think this could be. I think Pittsburgh plays this game close. All right, because I mean, this is Baltimore and Pittsburgh. The game is going to come down to. It's going to be a hotly contested game. Throw the records out. All the stuff they say about rivals, it goes into play when these two teams go. But I think we could see some hero ball from Lamar this week. Would you be exposed to Lamar Jackson in DFS this week? I
would be, yeah. I pivoted last week, moving Mark Andrews up to my tight end 1. I had him at tight end 5, and I was getting some flack for it. I said, you know what? I want to move him to tight end 1 because he's due for a good week. And last week he had the 2 touchdowns. I think the thing with Lamar is that him finally getting the established connection back with Andrews this year is going to continue to help him build and progress. It's a good matchup for Zay Flowers. I like Andrews and Zay in this matchup. On the other side, so that does mean I love Lamar. And then on top of that is on the Pittsburgh side, I don't really love much, but we do get Darnell Washington at the Stone, $2,500 on DraftKings.
Okay.
Not beautiful. It's not sexy, but you know what? I'm going to do it because he's 6'8", 275 pounds. He's been in there run blocking a ton this year, not really doing anything in the receiving game. But when I was at Steelers camp this fall, it was a guy that they had a package for down in the red zone where he was right over the center and you see him go up and his hands are like basically, 3 feet higher than the goalpost when he jumps up to catch the football.
Wow.
I wouldn't be opposed to him catching a touchdown this week and paying off in DFS. But yeah, I think you're going to ride mostly on the Baltimore side of this game.
Yeah, I think that's where the action is in this one right here. Jaylen Warren game.
Jaylen Warren, man, you've seen that snap share. It's now up to 50% for Jaylen Warren. So, and he's been more efficient. The big thing, and I just talked about going to the Pittsburgh camp this fall, was all of the reporters were like, dude, Jaylen Warren looks fantastic. And I said, yeah, but Najee looks big as hell. He looks big. He looks strong. He looks good. He didn't get, he ran 2 plays, untouched, 40-yard rushing touchdown, 40-yard screen touchdown. And they go, yeah, but Jaylen Warren just continually looks better and more efficient. The thing is Tomlin don't want to play him. Tomlin wants to play Najee. And I was like, well, that tells you everything, right? You got to draft Najee then if he wants him. And so that's kind of why I ended up drafting a little bit of Najee, was because the reporters were just straight up honest. They're like, Warren looks better, but Tomlin's not coming off of it. Now you're seeing Tomlin incrementally. All right, it's time to go back to Warren. We want to win football games. So
I think that's what it's going to be. I think this week right here could be a game right here where you could see Jaylen Warren getting involved. Obviously, big matchup versus the Baltimore Ravens. Baltimore with a chance to have 3 road wins in the division and be 3-0. I mean, and leave that stretch 3-0. That would almost put the nail in the coffin in the AFC North.
Big.
So that's humongous right there for the Baltimore Ravens, and it's still early in October. Talked about Atlanta Texans, Tennessee and Indianapolis. Tennessee Titans, if you haven't known this, have made their vacation home in Indianapolis. They absolutely ruled the Colts in Indianapolis. This is a little bit of King Henry for me, and I'm probably coming back with some Michael Pittman and some, and I'll probably get some Anthony Richardson this week as well.
Bingo. He's still priced pretty solidly on FanDuel as a middle price guy. I like him. I like pairing him with Alec Pierce on FanDuel. I think Pierce is priced fine on the lower end. I think it's a guy that you've seen Richardson put the ball up enough times that Pierce is going to end up being down there catching 1 or 2 of them here over the next couple of weeks. I like Jonathan Taylor. It sounds pukey, but
I was going to ask you about JT.
Everything Moss has done his first 3 games, go look last year at what Jonathan Taylor did his first 3 games. It mirrors. It's like 1 or 2 carries different and 6 yards different. It's the same exact stat line, and everybody knows this offensive line is better this year than it was last year. So I'm expecting Taylor to come in. Based on his interviews or his press conference, it sounds like he thinks he's healthy. He thinks he's ready to play football. It basically, to me, how I interpreted it was he's like, the last month didn't happen. Like, I'm here and I need to get through this damn season so I can go get my money. Like, I think that's pretty much where his mindset is, and I think that's a professional way of attacking it. And I think he knows what he needs to do. I also think he's like, hey, this Anthony Richardson cat is pretty all right. I kind of want to play with him. So I hope Jonathan Taylor comes in there and he's he's on the higher end for not having touched the football yet, but I like playing him on DraftKings this week. You mentioned Pittman. Should have had a 50-yard touchdown last week, but he had a little PI that didn't get called, a little face mask action in the end zone that didn't get called. So I like him as well. And then you like the big dog. You got to ride with the big dog. I like both of these guys. I like the big dog, Derrick Henry on FanDuel. I like Jonathan Taylor on DraftKings. I think this is going to be a old school smash mouth. Couple of the best running backs you'll see in football.
No doubt. Saints, Patriots, because the schedule said so. New England a 1-point favorite at home. Is this like Romandre and Olave, or do you even want to get involved with that?
I don't really want to touch Ramondre right now. I wasn't big on him to begin with, and I've kind of just been even more phased away from it. I want to see a little more pop. Demario Douglas, that's a guy that I think should start to get more opportunities, but I'm not going to play him this week. I'm not going to touch a single player on the New England Patriots right now. On the Saints side of things, I mean, they kind of told you last week, if Derek Carr's not 100%, he's going to sit and dump the ball off to Kamara. You got to only assume that Kamara is going to be a little more efficient with 13 whopping targets and 13 receptions, which is absolutely unreal. I think Olave is probably going to get a little kickback and have a bounce back game. Michael Thomas is interesting one. He's kind of sitting there right in that median all year, 4 to 7 targets. It feels like every single week. I can't really do much with that on DraftKings or DFS. So, I'll play a little bit of Kamara. I'll play a little bit of Olave, and that's about it.
Let's get into the 4 p.m. starts. Got a good one out there in Los Angeles. Philadelphia Eagles and Los Angeles Rams. Please, I warned people. I warned Philadelphia fan earlier this week. Philadelphia fan, if you're getting on the airplane and you're going out to Los Angeles, do not go out there and start fighting with them people in them stands in Los Angeles. The people in Los Angeles fight in the stands too. They fight in the stands. They don't mind. They say y'all Philadelphia fans think y'all the best stand fighters. The LA fan, they fight in the stand every week, Cody. Cody, you see they fight every week. They fight in LA.
I went to a Rams game when it was at the Coliseum just a couple years ago when the Vikings played them on Thursday Night Football. It was that Goff and Cousins game when they both almost went for 400. And we were standing up there. And this was right when the Skull chant came out.
Yeah.
And the Vikings fans started doing the Skull chant. And the Rams fans turned around. And they started going, Skull. It was not good. And that's exactly where I was going with that for the video audience. And they were, it was me and another Viking fan in a group of about 400 Rams fans on the way out. And it was like 11:30 p.m. Nobody was sober. And I would be lying. And I'm not small. I'm 260 pounds. I'm 6 foot. Like I was a little nervous walking out of that stadium. So yeah, Eagles fans, you ain't the head honcho when you walk into that stadium.
Yeah, be careful, Eagle fan, because they fight. They fight back too. Don't think you're gonna go out there and fool with them Rams fans. But listen, the game is going to be. I think the games are going to be good. I think the Rams actually live in this one. when you look at it from DFS.
Yep.
You know, our good buddy Stu, who does the shows with us, I was with Stu yesterday, and Stu said this is the Devonte Smith game because of the Rams' zone defense. This is where you'll see Devonte Smith go off. So a little Jalen Hurts and a little Devonte Smith this week.
Yeah, that's a great way of pointing it, because every week when you're going through rankings, it's like, all right, which receiver am I gonna have in front this week? Is it gonna be Smith? Is it gonna be Brown? Is it gonna be Smith? Is it gonna be Brown? And it's kind of hard to toe that line. This week I do got Smith at wide receiver 9 and Brown at 12. Jalen Hurts I got at quarterback 2 overall. I think this is a great matchup for the Eagles in totality. But I also think the Rams are going to be very interesting. It looks like Kupp's going to play. And I think this is going to be one of the most exciting things I look forward to all year, is just seeing how McVay utilizes Kupp and Puka on the field at the same time. And does it look the same? Are they both get 10 targets? Is it bang, 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 bang? Or do you see just having those two pieces on the defense or on the offense open up downfield Van Jefferson, open up Tutu Atwell in motion? What does it open up? What's it do? What's it look like for the Rams? That's like one of the most interesting things I think for me to look forward to this weekend in all of football. I think that Kyren Williams snap share is going to come down this week. I don't think it's going to be up north of 90%. Something just feels that way, bringing back a piece in Kupp where they don't have to have a focal point with the running back. But I think you can safely play Kupp. I do. I think you can safely play Puka Nacua. Both, I think, are top 24 options playing together. I don't know if that's hot or cold. Don't really care. But in the Eagles side, I think you got to play Smith. You got to play Brown. This is a game that could very well be, that 31-28 type of a football game, just because of the star power that is out there. So this is a sneaky shootout game for me.
Matthew Stafford too, right?
Yeah, it's the Stafford. The big question, everybody knows that he's hotter than bejesus right now. So if he's healthy and he can stay on the field, doesn't have a hip issue, doesn't have a back issue, old Stafford is going to be out there slinging. You know that.
No doubt. Priceless Pigeon in the chat. Tutu Atwell, Raheed Shaheed, Treylon Burks, or Jamo. Eliminate Jamo. I think it's got to be Tutu.
Yep.
Mm-hmm. So that's the call right there. All right, let's get on with the slate. Kansas City and Minnesota. Kansas City. Oh, this number came in a little bit. How about that? Was a 4.5 point favorite, now a 3.5 point favorite. See the Minnesota Vikings taking some action in this one. I haven't checked the injury report. I don't think anything is going on that really would only be, nobody would really affect the point spread besides Jones and Mahomes. But yeah, what do we think about this one? This is a smash spot for Isaiah Pacheco and Pat Mahomes.
Yeah, I was just looking through the injury report because you brought it up, and the only person that really is back this week that's different from Minnesota is Garrett Bradbury, their center, which I think they might get worse at the center position with him coming back. So that's interesting. The biggest game total of the week, Mahomes and the Chiefs and Vikings. We saw 2 weeks ago the Chargers go up to Minnesota, kind of in the same setting, and combine for 97 pass attempts. My take was like, oh, these guys are guaranteed to go over 80. They almost went for 100 pass attempts in that football game, and 28-24 finish. Patrick Mahomes has only crested 40 pass attempts once this year. Kirk Cousins has only not crested it once this year. He's averaging 46 in all 3 of the Vikings losses. I think it's going to be another game. We just talked about the Eagles-Rams, likelihood of a possible shootout. I think this Chiefs-Vikings game is going to be too easy of an expected shootout. But the thing is what this Chiefs defense looks like, because Nick Bolton looks like he's going to be back this week. And Isaiah Pacheco has started to run the ball harder and harder. So what does this Chiefs football team look like? Do the Chiefs contain Minnesota a little bit in the first half and run the football a lot? Are we going into halftime 10-3? Like that's definitely a possibility in my opinion. And then you come into the second half and what Vikings team comes out. So this would be one for me where I do have Kirk and Mahomes both as top 12 options, the only 2 top 12 guys playing each other this week on the slate. I think it'll be a fun game. But as far as DFS, I kind of want to fade it just because outside of Mahomes and Kelsey, which I'm just going to play that stack until it hits because you have to on this in the current trajectory, just because Kelsey hasn't hit. He hasn't been the Kelsey that we're used to. So I'm going to continue to play that. And then you have to play Jefferson every week. But outside of game stacking the whole thing, I'm going to play, like I said, Mahomes and Kelsey and maybe come back with a Jefferson, but I don't want really anything else because I don't trust this game this week. It's kind of a stay away for me as far as fading a layup for a shootout.
Jeff, Tyreek over Jeff this week, right?
Yes.
It took a little bit of hesitation on that one. Cincinnati, Arizona. I don't know what to say about this one. Go ahead and break it down. I just don't like playing Hollywood and Rondell and James Conner and these, but I guess there's some value to it though.
Burrow, I thought I was going to be a little higher than consensus this week. I had him at quarterback 14. ECR has him at 15 against Arizona because it's a smash spot. It's just such a tough one.
I
can't believe Burrow's down here. He's playing like horrible. But if he's ever going to get right, this is going to be the get right game, right? Doesn't look like Higgins is going to be playing. So obviously it's going to be a lot of Chase, a little bit of Boyd. One player I'm stashing, I talked about this guy on Patreon yesterday, is Andre Yosivas, because Yosivas should get the opportunity to see a snap spike in T. Higgins' role, but I'm not going to play him in DFS. Trying to wrap my head around anybody that I want in this game. Kind of Rondell Moore. That's about it. Kind of Rondell Moore.
That's it. All right, so Rondell Moore is the guy right there. Like I said, this is a tough one right here. Jets and Broncos to finish off the main slate. Jets and Broncos. Are we throwing Zach Wilson out there?
No, I ain't touching Zach Wilson. You couldn't buy me a 60-foot pole to try to touch him with. I wouldn't touch him. The only thing I really want here is Breece Hall, baby. Breece Hall.
This is the Breece show.
This is the Breece show.
Breece or David Montgomery?
Oh, I gotta check that one.
That's a close call right there.
I might
even give Breece a little bit of juice right there.
I got Breece at running back 8. Mm-hmm. ECR has him at 19. Like I told you, I have Montgomery at 11, but I said I'm gonna bump him up. So that's a good question, dude. Am I gonna bump David over Breece? I don't think I can. Again, Denver's allowed 500 rushing yards in the last 2 games to Miami and Chicago. Breece looked fantastic. I don't know what competency came through that office in New York. There is none. I know that, but they had that game last week at arm's length reach, talking about at length, and they could have run the ball with Breece Hall. Instead, they're like, hey, let's give Dalvin the ball. Hey, let's throw the ball to Randall Cobb. It's like, no,
Dalvin cooked.
Give the ball to your stud. He finally looks like he's 100%. Give the ball to your stud. When he got the ball, his lateral quickness was where, his lateral burst was there, his downfield burst and speed was there. Breece is back, and if they give him north of 15 touches in this football game, you're going to be very, very happy fantasy owner. You're going to be very happy DFS player because you're getting him at 5,400 this week. It's a screaming value. If the competent gamers will have him as their most played chalk, but again, because it's Denver. And on the other side, Jaleel McLaughlin. McLaughlin's got the burst. A lot of people spent their fab on him, but I'm not seeing a lot of people having him highly ranked this week or highly projected this week. And I don't quite understand that because they're going to go ahead and play Samaje Perine. But I tell you what, you give Samaje Perine the ball 3 times, you get 8 yards. You give Jaleel McLaughlin the ball 1 time, you get 37 and a touchdown. It's going to be a little bit of a shift change there in the first quarter, in my opinion. So that's the 2 guys I want. I just want to play Jaleel and Breece Hall. That's it.
That's interesting. All right. Ran a contrarian edge optimizer, and they got some Zach Wilson and some Mac Jones teams. So they're going with cheap prices. Yeah, so I'm not even going to read those to you. Here's the blend. The optimizer will blend a number of different sites and come together with an optimized lineup. Mahomes, Kamara, James Conner, Marquise Brown, Garrett Wilson, George Pickens, Zach Ertz, Travis Kelce, the Titans defense, a lot of Arizona Cardinals.
Yeah. I don't know how I feel about that.
I don't feel good about it at all.
Last week, I kind of bit into this Bengals get back game, and that blew up in my face, obviously against Tennessee, right? I thought Tennessee was the defensive line was starting to get banged up. They're missing Elijah Molden. Hey, this is a good time for Cincinnati. And now they're going into one of the grindiest football teams in the NFL right now, Arizona, who's making everybody fight for their games. I don't know how I feel about them. And then on the Arizona side, do you really trust this wagon to just keep on chugging? I don't.
No.
I'm not going to go heavy on Arizona. No.
Well, listen, I'm not. You're not going to do that. I need every dollar the fantasy executive comes across is very important to him. So there you go, right there. And I can't deal with the Arizona Cardinals with that. All right, so there you go, right there. You know what I'm saying? Fantasy exec, Cody Carpentier. So I want to thank everybody for rocking with us. Don't forget, head up sportstopia.io. Those rankings will be updated throughout the weekend. That QR code right there takes you to the Contrarian Edge Optimizer. 7-day trial for $1, a test drive, just go ahead and sign up for the whole thing. Skip the test drive. Go ahead and buy the whole thing. Get the package and get rocking and rolling. For my man Cody, it's Corey Parson, the fantasy exec. Enjoy the weekend.